Hey guys!
Hi friends, how are you?
How's dark night? It's getting darker and darker.
I'm just gonna turn up, I think what do you call it? Sorry, so sorry. I was just trying to turn up the light.
That's
But
cool.
we're not gonna see it.
I think we have northern lights coming.
Yes,
tonight
we do.
or tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Summer!
Hi.
How are you?
I'm so good. I was so worried I wouldn't be able to figure this out. So I feel like this huge sense of relief that I was able to figure out how to do this.
We felt like that the first time. Like, well, cross our fingers.
Right.
So,
We're still new enough at this. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
what time is it there? Are you mountain time?
No, we're central, so it's 6,
Oh.
I think. Yeah, it's 6. Okay. Time zones confuse me. Like, I've missed so many like yarn dyer updates because I get twisted on time zones, and it's the worst.
It is. It is. What are you working on right now?
So I'm working on a new sock set for January, and then I'm also working on a Stash Dive scarf. I want to do like a free pattern in January that like can be like a knit along, and everyone can just stash bust and just knit a simple scarf after all of the just pandemonium of the holidays. So yeah.
Love it. Good.
Yeah.
Socks. I mean, do you ever work on a pattern that's just for you, or is it almost always a new design that you're working out in your mind?
So it's both, because I only like write patterns that I myself want to wear, and
Totally.
so I never like try to design something or work on something that I don't also want to work on. And I've started designs before that I loved the way they looked, but they were just like so not fun to knit, so I just scrapped it, because if I'm not having fun, like I don't want to do it. So it's kind of both. I mean, anything that I design, it's also something that I actually want to wear. I'm completely like just do stuff for myself, and if other people like it, great. If not, I don't care. I've got a great pair of socks that I really like. So
That is the hardest thing for knitting, I think, is like when you try to knit for someone else, that's something that isn't your style. It takes about 3 years longer than you would ever do for yourself, because you just don't want to do it.
exactly. Yeah, we had a discussion about that on my Instagram page. I was asking if people are gift knitters or selfish knitters, and I'm I'm horrible. I'm so hateful. I don't knit for anybody but me. And so, but like all the gift knitters, all of the like angels among us who actually knit for other people, they were like, yeah, sometimes, when you let the person pick out the yarn and pick out the pattern, and it's not something that you would actually choose to do, then it just takes 10 years because you're having this thing that you don't really care about. So I guess you just have to like really love the person to want to do that. But yeah. I don't care how much I love somebody. I'm not knitting anything for anyone. Everyone's like, have you knit your husband any socks? And I'm like, no. Like, that sounds awful. I'm not going to do that. He gets no socks from me. I'll buy him socks, but...
Yeah. I was the naive knitter when I very first started. I was like, I can knit. I'm going to knit gifts, and did like one Christmas. I did something for everybody, and I was like,
yeah,
I can knit. I'm never doing that again.
No. No.
And then also you give it to people who don't appreciate it, and they're like, that's cool. And you're like, well, it was.
Right.
That feels awful. So
Yes. I know. They look at it like you're just some kind of troll who just like gave them this like crappy handmade thing. And you're like, no, this took hours, and this yarn was $30 a skein. So enjoy this. You have to like this, and don't put it in the washing machine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's the worst. And you always know, like, because you've done, I mean, I've done that. That's why I hate opening presents, because they're looking at you and you're trying so hard. And so you open something truly awful that you would never wear or buy for yourself. And you have to like put the face on that you really love it. And it's like, it never works. You can always tell when someone hates what you gave them.
I feel like I'm really good at that. I've got a really good one. I think that seems enough. In our family who's really awful at this, that I learned enough of how bad that like I'm really good. Like I got my best friend where she was like, she really likes that meatball maker. I don't think I know her, and I was like, dude, it was a game. Like no, but like I can get really good at that.
That's hilarious. What is with meat makers? We got a hot dog maker like last year.
That's
And I was like, what are we going to do? You just put a hot dog like in a skillet, you know, or in the oven. Why do we need a special machine to cook a hot dog? And it's gross because then you have to clean it out afterwards. And so I don't know, meatball makers, hot dog, like all the weird meat makers come out at Christmas. It's so disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good stuff.
I mean, it's funny that there's enough of an industry. I mean, obviously people keep buying these things because
Right.
they're out there. I mean,
Yeah. It is totally bizarre. Only in America, right? Like we just get all of these crazy inventions and contraptions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what has been keeping you going this year? Do you feel like it's the same things that you like really tapped into to like get you through this year, or are you like, I need something new to keep me going?
Oh my gosh. So it's been like straight knitting since like when the pandemic started in March. I had actually just gotten approved from my insurance company. So I have an autoimmune disease. And so my doctor was like, we've got to suppress your immune system. And I was not too happy about that, but I kind of wrapped my head around it. And I'd gotten so sick at that point that it was like, let's do this. It's fine. And then like a month later, the pandemic started.
Ooh,
and I was like, what a great time to be suppressing my immune system. So I was full of so much anxiety. It was just, I mean, I could not handle it. So it was just straight knitting all the time. That's when I started designing. It kind of gave me something to focus on.
Yeah.
Just kind of put all of that anxious energy into. And so that's literally all I've done for the past, what is it, like 10 months? I don't know. I just knit straight from the minute I get up until I go to bed. And I feel like that's probably at some point not healthy. And I'm going to have to like work some other activities in. But I mean, that's honest. That's all I've done. It's just knit. I don't know. I mean, what about you guys? You've got a yarn store. So how does that work? I mean, how have you shifted?
Well, we were pretty lucky the way that we had built things were to kind of survive winter in the tiniest town in northern Michigan. So like we already kind of have, you know, we had to have a lot already going on. So we were used to in March having things happening to get us through slow times. So we kind of just kept going with that. We just had to close the doors and then just make it all production style, basically, which had its own ups and downs with kids in the mix and that. But so we definitely don't feel like we get enough time to either deal with the things or also I guess that kind of makes it easier is we can't sit and we don't have time to sit and dwell on things.
Right.
So that,
Yeah.
you know, we just have to be like, well, we'll have to just push that down and deal with that one later. Just keep going for survival. And so
I'm a huge fan of suppressing things. I love that. It's a great survival instinct. Just shove it on down there. Like, don't even think about it.
I had stuff bubble up at awful times, but this has definitely been a year. Like, we'll deal with it sometime. Right now, we just have to, you know, figure it out.
Just keep going. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
The knitting time has been less than we wanted, but kind of mentioned that, like, the dreaming about knitting has been helpful too. You know, just the inspiration that has been really, really cool.
Oh, it's been explosive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is impressive. Like I can't, I mean, both of us talk about how if for us, our brains feel so fried. I can't imagine. I mean, we try to kick out as much creativity as we can. And that's like squeezing so much juice out of nothing. But it's to see people being like design on fire is
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so good to be able to go to that place and
to have that mind still going like that is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, someone had, put together a list of all the things that like people in history have accomplished during like pandemics and horrible times. And I mean, so much great art and so many innovative ideas come out of when people are pushed to the limit and there's so much adversity and so many terrifying things happen. It's like our brains just kind of like, I think, suppress all the scary stuff and start really getting into the creative stuff. And I think that's really cool. So I've kind of enjoyed seeing all the amazing things that have come out and all the great art. And I mean, it's kind of been really impressive. It's like, wow, go humanity. Like, we're not doing too bad. People really are kind of amazing creatures. So,
yeah.
And that's the thing too, that has been kind of, especially in the beginning, watching so many, while so many horrific things were happening, you would just be mind blown by something amazing. You know, that emotional roller coaster of like off to like angelic, heartwarming. You're like, how it's been pretty cool to see people so generous and giving and thoughtful, and so that's been really cool to see.
Yeah.
We see that a lot in Oklahoma because we always have like these huge devastating tornadoes like that rip through and like tear up towns, and it's always the same thing. Like, you know, some horrific tornado happens and then afterwards everyone pulls together to help people find their dogs and, you know, reunite people that are kind of scattered and rebuild homes. And it's always incredible to see that, how quick people are to jump in and help rebuild and make things better. So I'm really anxious to see, you know, after the vaccines go live and once that kind of becomes safe, I feel like people are really going to jump in and help out small businesses. I really do. I feel like once it's safe to congregate and gather, I feel like every community, there's going to be such an outpouring of support to try and help people get back on their feet and get their businesses going again. And I'm just really excited to see that. Like, I think that's going to be amazing.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that too. And seeing people, I hope that there's really like a paradigm shift in that people are, just really feeling like they can be together and doing things together, and like not everything is about you. And I think that and with those like communities, small businesses, I think it's just really important to like, okay, are we I just don't think that things are going to go back to normal. Shouldn't. And what are people you know, I hope that people will move toward, you know, I don't know, just banding together.
Yeah.
Know.
That human connection. I think we've all kind of realized how important that is in the last 10 months, and how slowing down and just spending time with people we love is so much more valuable than kind of the way it was before, you know? My own family, my husband, his company went completely remote permanently after COVID. So we turned our dining room into like a little office/knitting studio, and it's been amazing. I mean, he's my best friend and my favorite person. So getting to spend the days together, we homeschooled our kids this year. So having them has been, I mean, they're teens and tweens, so it's not going to be long before they're just like, get away from me. You're so gross and so embarrassing. So I really am, like, as horrible as this has been for so many people, I've really treasured this time with them before they kind of grow up and do their own things. I've kind of got this last little bit with them, and being able to spend time with my husband, all of that. It's like, wow, this is so great. This is what it's supposed to be. People are supposed to be together, just kind of slowing down and just enjoying one another's company. And so that's been amazing. I've loved that.
So great.
That's great. Yeah.
That's so great.
Yeah. It definitely has, and it's really great to have a good, but I definitely think, you know, it is not the best of days when we're all in our house. I gotta say, it's like usually two adults trying to do work at the same time, and people who does not want to do school, and the worst.
Yeah.
It's gonna be exciting to getting to a place where we get to do things differently again. But I feel like I'm afraid for a while it's going to be, it's so much that everybody is not on the same page right now. And there's going to be a big quick switch where people are on the same page, that it is just having this anxiety that we're like, we're all ready to get together. And a lot of people are like, we're not.
Yeah.
That's I hug everyone, and they're like, we're not ready to hug you.
No.
I think that's going to be really hard, is that people are wanting to get together, yet friends are going to be scared for years, and rightly so.
Right.
And I think that's going to be is that those that have this serious fear and trauma and anxiety are going to be hard to come out of their shell again, and we'll still be missing them.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think herd immunity is a big deal, especially for me. I really don't want to, I wasn't much of a hugger to begin with, so I'll be real honest. I'm a huge fan of the whole social distancing stuff. Because some people just force their hugs on you, even if you're like, look, I'm not much of a hugger. And they're like, I'm going to make you be a hugger. And they're just going to try. It's like a challenge to them. So I've kind of loved the no hugging thing. I wouldn't be sad if that continued, at least, for me. But yeah, I get it. Like some days it is like, as much as we love being with our family, there are hard days. I mean, my husband has these conference calls that are super boring. And since I'm in there, I'm hearing them.
And you're
and
just
I know. It's like, I just want to turn on my music. And then, you know, I'm hearing all these corporate words like, let's circle back to that. And I don't have the bandwidth for that. And, you know, they're just like so boring. And like the kids, you know, not wanting to do the work sometimes. And you're trying to motivate them, like, you know, and then they fuss over who's sitting in whose spot. Like, that's my spot. I was sitting there. And you're just like, oh, so yeah, it'll be nice when we can do other activities in addition to all being like in the house together. So yeah, totally feel that.
A few things off our plate will make everything more enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone trying to do schooling is just already adding so much layer into that. You're like, at least, like, I don't feel like there's like playtime left.
Right?
No, in life. So it'll be nice that like once those things are taken care of and mom and dad can actually get work done during like a work day, then like evenings and weekends can be like something that will do something, you know? So those will be kind of nice days to come back to.
Yeah. My husband right now, he's the math teacher because like I can't, I think my math might be at a 3rd grade level, maybe. I don't know. That could be like wishful thinking. So, you know, they do math during the day and anything they don't understand, my husband, as soon as he gets done with work, that's what he does, is like an hour of math tutoring every evening, you know, and then he cooks dinner because I don't cook either. Like I don't really do anything to contribute to our family, but knit. That's what I do. And I decorate the house. Like I love that. Those are my contributions. So like he does all the cooking, he does the math tutoring, and like he works, you know, 8.5 hours a day. So he's kind of a gem. Like he's really, I've got a good thing going here. So
that's great. That's great.
Fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Books. Tell me what you're reading right now.
Yes. Okay. So I actually have a stat because I knew you were going to ask me that. I was like, you're going to ask about books. So I was prepared. So I have 2 very different books. This is the first one. Is it showing up backwards? It is. It's called World of Wonders. And it is a collection of essays. I'm just going to put it up there. But yeah, it's really, really good. It's a collection of essays by a poet, actually. She teaches poetry and creative writing at the University of Mississippi in Oxford. I think it's called Ole Miss. Anyways, so it's a collection of essays, and she writes about how like nature affected her life growing up as a person of color in different communities as a kid. And so it's amazing. It's so good. I'm trying to limit myself to 1 essay a night because I don't want to blow through it. But I love nature writing, and I love how she combined nature writing with her experiences growing up, you know, as a person of color in predominantly white communities. So it's really, really good. Highly recommend that. Barnes & Noble's Book of the Year, so it's really easy to find. Then I'm reading a book about serial killers. Going from wonderful, poignant essays to Mind Hunter. It's like an FBI profiler book. You know, gotta read about serial killers. Why not? When you're already scared from a pandemic, why wouldn't you scare yourself further? Like,
did you read The Golden State Killer? Did you read the book?
Yeah, as soon as it came out, I was flipping out over that. So good.
It was so good.
God. Oh my God. I know. And I always feel like something is wrong with me because I love serial killer books, but then everybody else does too. So I think it's just part of the human condition. I always think that there's a serial killer like outside, which is so narcissistic because it's like, why am I so interesting that like I would attract the attention of a serial killer? You know? Like, why would they pick me? Like, there's so many other, like, interesting people that they could fixate on. But nonetheless, I always think that there's one, like, lurking outside. My husband, every night, like, I'm always like, did you hear that? Like, go look and see what that was. There's someone trying to break in the house. And then so he gets up and he goes, and of course, there's no one ever no one's going to break into my house. But I always think that they would. I think that I'm so interesting that someone, you know, is going to want to break in. So yeah, those are the 2 books I'm reading at the moment, but I've got a huge stack. I knit so much that I don't read as much as I used to. I'm trying to learn the art of knitting while reading, and I'm slowly getting better at it. And so I've made progress, and that's been thrilling because if I could combine those 2, I would never get off the couch. My couch butt dent would just get huge. It would just be a crater because those 2 things at once would be the dream.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Do you think you'll be an audiobook person that would try to do it that way or no?
No, I've tried so many times. I even bought a subscription to Audible, and that was just a waste of $15 because I can't get into it. I don't know. My mind just wanders when I'm listening. Can't do Kindle, can't do Nook, have to have a paper book, and I have to smell, it smells so good. Turn the pages. Yeah, all of that. My husband is sitting right back there because I told him, I was like, you have to wave at me if I hop on the train to Awkwardville. So let me know. And so he's kind of looking at me like, don't start talking about smelling books. Don't do that. Like, don't.
That's super normal.
Yeah.
Like
It's normal for book readers.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of, it's our thing.
Yeah. Just stick your face in there and just like, oh, it smells so good. Oh, I love it. So yeah.
So great. It's so great. Yeah, I would say I wasn't I kind of waffle back and forth. I've listened to lately a lot of like young adult stuff on audio.
Love YA.
Like Nick Stone.
Mm-hmm.
Why is she so amazing?
I know.
I'm listening to Jackpot right now, and I have been for a long time. But and I did read Dear Martin, but I read the paper.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And
I love YA.
I'm looking forward to reading. Is it or Justice? But anyway, the next one. So, but yeah, I mean, I would say there's a lot of time where like audiobooks don't necessarily do it for me. I have to be in the right frame of mind. But if you haven't read The Dutch House by Anne Patchett.
I have. That was so good.
If you could listen to it, Tom Hanks narrates it.
Really?
It's like, I mean, that's I listened to it pre-pandemic. So it's like, it's part of me, you know, like I feel like I have such fond memories. I would be like making a smoothie in the morning and driving my kids to school. And I would, or, you know, after I dropped them off, I would like listen to it. And anyway, but that was such an enjoyable book to read or to listen.
Yeah, it was such a good book. And that's so cool, like talking about like that, how it's stuck in your memory now because it was in the before time, you know, and we don't think about that. Like all of just anything, any random song or, you know, smell that can remind us of what it was like before it would kind of be like really precious. Like, oh.
Yeah. Right. And I also listened to Daisy Jones and the Six.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was read by a full cast. Benjamin Bratt.
Wow.
So, yeah, super enjoyable.
Man, so like celebrities are getting, because see, I don't listen to audiobooks. I had no idea that celebrities like did that. I mean, I guess they just got to make money any way they can. So they do audiobooks too. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, why not? So,
yeah. But there's some that is like I could listen probably to any book that Tom Hanks would read and to it. And there's some books that you're like, I'm so excited for this. And the person starts reading and you're like, this is going to be painful.
Right.
So it's like the listening to the right, all the difference in the world, whether they're taking you away or not.
Yeah. I think that's my problem. One of the audiobooks I tried was The Silent Patient, and it was a thriller. And the guy that was reading it, it was just, I couldn't do it. I could not do it. And I felt terrible. Like it feels bad to like hate someone because of their voice. I was like, oh, I can't listen to this. I mean, like, I honestly thought, how do his friends and family listen to him talk? This is terrible. Like, and then I felt like a horrible person for it because he can't help it. I mean, that's just his voice, but it was terrible. I couldn't do it. And so I gave up on that one. And I've tried a few more, but I can't do it. I could, because I could, you know, especially now that I know Tom Hanks and like all of these celebrities are like actually reading them. This is a new thing. I didn't know that. So.
And it depends on who it is too. Like I'm also listening to, I've read it multiple times. One of my favorite books of all time is Paradise by Toni Morrison. Yeah. I'm listening to it. I mean, and I say I'm listening. This isn't active. Like, I mean, I have over the past 6 months, like, yeah. I put it on pause or whatever, but there are certain people who I love so much and I respect and admire their work so much that I would prefer, like, it's like, I don't want to read anything by Toni Morrison or listen to anything by Toni Morrison unless it's read by her voice. Otherwise, I would just prefer to, just read the paper copy.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
No, that makes total sense. I remember when I was in college, I was really lucky because Kurt Vonnegut came to speak at our university as part of his like distinguished speaker series. And so it was like an hour, and you know, that was, I mean, I still remember it to this day, just hearing his voice. And he didn't really read any stuff. He was just talking about life and writing and things like that. But I mean, it was incredible to actually hear his voice. And it was something I will never forget. So I can only imagine what it would be like to read or to listen to an audiobook by an author that you love in their own voice. That would be just magical.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody's asking, has anyone read or listened to Obama's new book? One of my friends from college, Sarah, is listening to it right now, where she has. But yeah,
does he actually read it? Is he reading the audiobook?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it would be weird if someone else read your biography.
Yeah.
That's probably a dumb question.
I'm so busy. I gotta write my next book.
Yeah, right?
That's
he could
fair.
just hire, like he could get just any like really cool actor to do it, you know, because
Like
exactly busy. That's so funny. That's so cool. Yeah, I haven't read any of the Obama stuff. I didn't read Michelle's book yet. I'm not a huge autobiography person. I read Dolly Parton's autobiography, but that's about it. And read McIntyre.
Can we just talk about the fact that she did? I mean, it is true, right? That she wrote Jolene and I Will Always Love You in the same day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not.
She's just, I mean, we don't deserve her. She's a national treasure. Like,
No.
I mean, I love her so much. Everything about her. I love it. I want to go to Dollywood. I haven't been yet. And there was a time, I used to be a photographer before I did knitting and knitting design and stuff. And Dollywood had an opening for a park photographer. And I was really tempted to apply, even though you would make like $10 an hour probably. I was like, I don't care. This would be the thrill of a lifetime to just wander around Dollywood, you know. I didn't though. Like obviously my husband was like, we're not moving to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. So you can wander around Dollywood.
I've been there. I got a tattoo there. It's
That's
not
amazing.
but it's cracked up to me.
Nothing ever is. Like, I think it makes it an enigma and a mystery. Like the fact that I haven't been, you know, it can remain this thing in my mind. But yeah, if you go, it's probably like not, it would be just a huge disappointment and a letdown. I actually have a friend, I don't know if she's on here, she might be, but we worked together. And she went to see Pearl Jam after like, you know, 2 decades. She loved Pearl Jam ever since she was, you know, a teenager. She never got to see them. She finally got to see them, and it was just the biggest disappointment. Like, apparently Eddie Vedder just will stop mid-song and just go off on a tangent and start talking about stuff. And like, she said it was just horrible, and it was just the biggest letdown because she'd been waiting like 20 years to see them, and then when she finally did. So I'm not ever going to go see Pearl Jam now because I don't want, I don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie and I have like a pretty intimate relationship,
right?
In my mind, so I don't.
Him and his little ukulele. I mean, he burrowed into everyone's hearts with that. Who could have seen that coming? Eddie Vedder picks up a ukulele. Like,
I missed. I don't know. Huh?
You didn't know that Eddie Vedder did a ukulele album?
No.
Oh, it's insane.
Doesn't really like.
No, I've only heard the classic Pearl Jam songs that they play about 10 times a day, every day.
Right.
That's pretty much my extent of Pearl Jam.
Oh, Eddie's got a whole nother life. There's like a whole new Eddie with the ukulele. It's pretty incredible.
Intrigued. One thing, kind of like when you're talking about like things that, you know, that unfortunately disappoint when you're really excited for, one that will never, ever, ever is U2 Live. I'm just saying, as much as like, at first I'm like, yeah, U2 Live, like that would be an experience. It's phenomenal. I dragged my husband because I was like, you got like U2 Live. Like, when are we ever gonna? And it's, if you ever get a chance, it's the most.
It was a spiritual experience.
Life changing.
Wow.
The production he puts on, the worldly, they had a whole thing about women, the most amazing women in the world, and just every song. I mean, it started while we're waiting for him to come on. They're just going over these beautiful poems and beautiful like essays that people wrote. I mean, it was like it was like a humanity, like an experience for people. I don't know. It's like,
That's incredible. See, we don't get, like, Oklahoma doesn't always attract like the big acts. Like, you know, like we had Jack White, and I don't remember if he was with the White Stripes or if he was just coming as Jack White, but he came to my town. I live in Norman. It's a college town just south of Oklahoma City. And so he came here to play, and then like a local newspaper made fun of him because his rider, like his concert, you know, request, he had to have homemade guacamole. He even included the recipe. And he's like, you have to make the guacamole like this. And someone leaked it, and this satire news organization in Oklahoma City published it and made fun of him for it. And he very seriously said, I'm never coming back. So we don't get Jack White anymore because we made fun of him for his guacamole. But yeah, all the big stuff usually goes to like Dallas. So we have to drive to Dallas if we want to go see like the really big, you know.
I need to drive through entire Michigan and then like through like half another state to like.
Yeah, I mean we're about you know, we're in Michigan's pinky finger, so it takes. I mean, it's about 5 hours from Detroit proper. So
wow.
So and even still, people. I mean, yeah, people come to Detroit and to Pontiac, but I mean Toledo, Columbus, Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's like 8 hours from here. So yeah, I mean, people. There are certain people like I saw Ben Harper and Jack Johnson in Grand Detroit. I saw him in Detroit.
Yeah.
So or I saw him at DTE.
Oh yeah.
But most of the time, I mean, people don't. You know, I regret. One of my greatest regrets in life, and I maybe said this on another one of our Instagram lives. So sorry, guys, but yeah, I mean, I just didn't have the money, but I really wanted to go see Neil Young at the Fox, and I couldn't afford it at the time. I mean, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't swing it. But now I just give anything to do it. So.
I always get confused, like Neil Young and Neil Diamond. I get them mixed up all the time. And my husband's like, they're so different. How can you continue to think that this one's Neil Diamond and that one's Neil Young? And it's like, you know, they have the same name. They're from a similar era. And I couldn't tell you right now which one is Neil Young and which one's Neil Diamond. Like if I heard a Neil Young song, I would genuinely think, okay, which Neil is this? Like I always get it wrong.
Is think of every time I hear Neil Young now, I have a hard time not laughing because all I can picture is Jimmy Fallon's impressions.
Yes.
So amazing.
I know.
All I see is Jimmy singing his being goofball when this great song is on.
I know.
Jimmy Melissa ruining a good moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He sings really well. Like Jimmy Fallon could totally have been in a band.
He really is amazing.
Yeah. He's hysterical. I know.
All the good ones.
I was sort of hoping you were going to be wearing your 1979 sweater tonight.
It was 73 degrees today. So no knits. I know.
Holy cats.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy. And I mean, that's like, we got that ice storm in October, which freak thing that never happens. We get ice storms sometimes, but usually not until like January, sometimes March randomly, but I mean, never in October. And then after that, it's been like 70s ever since. So, I mean, it's fun. Like usually, I mean, we can eat Thanksgiving dinner outside or eat dinner outside. So yeah, I don't really get to wear my actual like heavy duty knits until like January.
Okay.
And I knit this like sweater out of Let Lopi, the Icelandic stuff, which is like wearing a shirt made out of wasp. Like that stuff is so itchy. I was like, and it's like a furnace. I mean, you put that on and if you live in Oklahoma, you're just like boiled within 30 minutes. And it's a beautiful sweater, but I mean, I never get to wear it because one, it feels like I'm wearing wasp. And two, it's just so stinking hot. So
yeah,
you know, I have to, like, most of my sweaters are more lightweight than that, but I don't get to wear them but like a few times. We actually want to move to a colder climate because I hate being hot so much. I can't. The older I get, the more I just cannot stand being hot. And it is just a hot, sticky swamp here in Oklahoma. So I want to move to a place where I can wear sweaters and it's cold and yeah, none of this like sticky sweating and then random, tornadoes and ice storms. And I mean, we just get some crazy weather here and I'm kind of done with it. Like Michigan seems pretty, I mean, it seems like it just snows a lot and then it's not snowing.
Yeah. And we're really lucky. I mean, we get all 4 seasons that are really, really nice. So we get to experience all that magical stuff. But then we've got also all this beautiful, clean, non-salty water that doesn't smell like fish.
Yeah.
And really no natural disasters, except for people call snow a natural disaster, but that's not a thing. So
when you're used to it, you know, you probably have a great infrastructure to deal with it. We don't have any snow or ice infrastructure in Oklahoma, so.
Yeah. It's not, the only time it was bad is when we had 2 people from Kansas.
When Marie Green and Rachel Lundstrom were here, that was
last February, right?
Yeah, it was last February.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was like one of the very most memorable storms of the decade, and we were here, and of course they, you know, are not used to driving in that kind of weather, and they had rentals, and we're like, go enjoy getting back to your and it was it was
pretty
hilarious
terrible.
And
wow,
they all survived, so now it's just a funny story, but
could have been tragic. Could have gone either way.
It was quite interesting, but
wow.
no more February events, just to be safe. But
and Susan B. Anderson came last year. It also, we got, you know, like 24 inches overnight on November the 10th.
Yeah. Which is hilarious. Like, our weathermen go bananas for like 2 weeks straight when we get like an inch of snow. I mean, they talk about it, they talk it up. Get your weather radios, get your flashlights, get ready because we're about to get a winter storm. And then it's like a dusting. It's like an inch and the whole state shuts down. Schools are closed. It's a huge event, you know. But then tornadoes, we've got those down. Like, our weathermen know, I mean, where they're at, like city block by city block. We have tornado spotters. We have the most, you know, advanced Doppler radars. And this last September, we went to Florida. I had like planned out this perfect socially distanced like vacation, rented us a condo with exterior access. We never saw like another person. Awesome. Beaches were deserted. It was great, but there was a hurricane. Hurricane Sally came, and so we're watching the weather, and they're talking about how there's tornadoes sometimes in hurricanes, and the weather guy was like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. He was like, if you feel your ears pop, you know, get under a table or something. And it's like, that's too late. If you feel your ears pop, the tornado is literally right on top of you. And I'm used to like weather people who know about tornadoes, and they can tell you where it is. And this guy was just like, whatevs, I don't know. Like, it could be like right over your head. And it's terrifying. Like, I was more scared of that than the hurricane. At least the hurricane I could see. I knew it was like right there in the ocean. But, you know, so it was crazy the difference, you know, and how they handle tornadoes versus us, and how we handle snow versus you. And it was interesting.
I mean, it's good here because we get to see all the different seasons, but for us, I think we're like, right now we're definitely, and
it's great.
I mean, we're in the first stages of it, really, of it's just, and it's been nicer this year than last year for sure, but so much gray.
We're up there at one of the most cloudiest counties. Wow. And it's just with the lakes and everything, and but even today, when we're like, there might, the Northern Lights, and I was like, there's so many clouds, I don't know that we're going to see it.
Right.
So much, you've got so much that for a while, I kind of don't even realize it. And then all of a sudden, you'll be going 3 weeks and you haven't really realized you haven't seen the sun. And then the clouds will part and you're like, oh my goodness, there is
the sun.
More light is possible. And so when you get that, but what a difference that makes too. When you think, and you'll get that extra beam that comes in your windows and you're like a completely different person.
I love sun. Like, we get sun all the, like, it's constantly just right in your face down here, and it's hot. So after a while, I love cloudy days just because it's not hot, but I do love interior sunlight. I love pools of sunshine on wood floors, and then the animals, like to lay out in the sun, and that's just so, I live for little moments like that. So sun coming in the window, huge.
Yeah, that's really cool.
One thing I learned last year was that when they were talking about, like, okay, so we know, like, from sunlight, we get vitamin D, but
Mhm.
all that we don't even realize that we're able to absorb from all of that light is just so beneficial, and all those
Yeah.
other, us as humans our mind has only figured out the vitamin D, but there's just so much more. And you can feel it physically, like when you go hang out in the sun, you can feel how different
Yeah.
it makes your life. And it's just really interesting how important and
Totally.
it is when you get it.
But I feel like, you know, often like somebody was saying like, that's why you need really bright knits. But I mean,
Yeah.
I love seeing all of your colors and your knits because it's like the zingiest pop of color and texture. And, you know, I was thinking about this today, like where do you get some of your inspiration for your color pairings? And if you want to talk about what your previous life pre-knitwear designer was like and your experience, that would be really awesome if you wanted to.
I just go with what feels right to me. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I really just kind of do what I want to do.
Sure.
You know, like I don't really think about what maybe I should do. Like, oh, okay, well, this color definitely goes with this one, but not, I mean, it's just kind of like, oh, these two look great together, or these three, or it just, whatever just makes my heart just skip a beat. That's what I do. If it feels right to me, I just kind of go with it. Most of my inspiration, I think, just comes from everywhere, honestly. I mean, it could be a picture of a pie. I love pie. And if it's, you know, a particular texture or particular colors, love couture clothing. Like I'll never be able to afford it. And I don't even know that I would. Like if I could spend $2,000 on a shirt, I probably wouldn't, even if I could. But I love looking at it. I love looking at the different textures and odd color combinations that come about. So really inspiration's everywhere. And as far as color choices, I just go with what makes me happy. And that's what I always tell people to do. Do not worry about if other people are going to think it looks weird or if they're going to like it or not. Don't worry. Whatever you go to first in the yarn store, grab it. Because I used to be that person. I would gravitate towards all these bright colors. And then I'd think, oh my God, I can't wear that. That's too scary. It's too bright. It's too, you know, and so then I'd put it back and I'd go get the oatmeal and the gray and the navy, which I also love. I love neutrals too. But out of fear, I was putting back the colors that I was really drawn to. So I always tell people when you're shopping for yarn, when you're looking for things, you know, the materials you need to make something, go with what your heart is drawn to. Don't question it. Don't second guess yourself. Like trust yourself, trust your instincts. You know what makes you happy. And you're going to feel that like, instant, you know, this feels right, this feels good, and just don't question it. Like don't, you know, and I'm that person that would do that completely. And then I think as you get older, you just really stop caring. You're like, I'm fine with being that eccentric person, you know, at Walmart wearing, you know, tiger print pants with like, you know, crazy socks and, you know, whatever. So that's my color thing, how I approach it. I just go with what makes me happy. And as far as my previous life, I used to work as a photographer in the creative department at the corporate headquarters of a national craft retailer. I always hate telling people which one because I don't want them to think I'm a bad person, but it's the one that's always in trouble for like stealing artifacts from the Middle East. But when you live in Oklahoma, there are no creative jobs here. I mean, the other one is Ackerman McQueen, which is an advertising firm that is notorious for being like the NRA. So it's either guns or crafts. And so I went with crafts because that's what I knew. So, and there's just not a lot of creative jobs. So it was a great job. You know, they pay really well. So there's just not a lot of creative jobs in Oklahoma. So I ended up working there and it was great. Met lots of great people that I'm still friends with to this day. The creative department is like its own separate world from the rest of the corporate environment. And it was an amazing, diverse group of people. And so that's what I did. I photographed all of the sets for like social media, weekly email blast, all of the project sheets, the posters that are up in the store, that kind of thing. And I really feel like that helps with knitting design because it helped me learning from like working with all those stylists. That's kind of where I learned a lot of stuff about like photographing and arranging sets and things like that. So I've been knitting for about 15 years. And so being able to kind of get those skills too kind of has really helped with knitwear design. But yeah, I didn't actually start designing until like January, February of this year. And that's kind of when I started doing it. So Oh, well, thanks. I think so, but no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's really helped those skills pull into that. And I had to leave my job because of the illness. And I think that's one thing. I don't think, like, the people who follow my page, I don't think they realize like how much they mean to me, because anyone who's had a chronic illness, you know that like the worst thing is not the pain. It's not, you know, the fear about what's going to happen to you. It's feeling like a burden. It's feeling like you're so dependent on people for everything. You know, my husband had to take care of me. He was the sole provider of our family. And so most days it's really hard because you feel like you are just a burden to other people. And so being able to get medication that turned my health around, and then starting knitwear design, every like, every comment, every time someone hearts a pattern on Ravelry or cues it or buys it, any of that, it like means the world to me, because I feel like I have this purpose, and I feel like I'm doing something that matters, and I feel like I'm contributing to my family. I'm contributing to this wonderful community that I love. And so it's like I get teary-eyed because I don't think everyone realizes how much that support and encouragement means to me. Like, it's completely changed my life in so many ways. And I'm just so thankful and grateful for every single person who interacts with me. Anyways, not to get all sappy, but you know.
That's okay. That's so great.
And that's what's so, I think, fun, being able to always look back at the story, is like seeing like where you've come and what you had to go through, and then you're like, oh my goodness, these are the steps that got me right here. That when you're in it, you're obviously not thinking of like what's gonna be on the other side to get me there, but to go through all those things to then get to a place where you actually are in a place where designing actually makes sense, and working from home makes sense from doing that. You know, that those things wouldn't have maybe come together if other paths had happened. You know,
it's totally true. I always say that I'm super grateful, you know, to have ulcerative colitis, because if I didn't, I would be a completely different person. Like, it's completely changed me in so many ways, and having to leave my job was scary, but it worked out for the better. And I think it's just completely, it's made me a braver person. I definitely go out there and go for things because I never know, you know, when you're really, really sick, you don't know how, it's just, you don't know how long you're going to feel good. You don't know how long the medicine's going to work. So it makes you brave. It makes you be courageous and just go after everything and anything, because you just don't know how long you're going to feel good for. So you just go for it. And I think that's a huge gift that I'm super grateful to have. So
yeah. I went through going through Graves' disease and having to, where, you know, you're feeling awful for so long, but then actually getting where you're like, I'm desperate. I will do anything. I don't care at this point.
Yeah.
And so you try the things, and getting to a place of like, when you find the thing that really works, and then it's just open a door for so many other things for other people in my life that have taken on that same kind of thing, that were like finding this healing, the same kind of healing, and watching my spouse do the same thing, seeing enough that like, for, you know, a lot of time you can talk to people and they're like, that's cool,
right.
but you don't really, don't buy it. But like, when all of a sudden other people in your life see that it's happening for you, and they start taking it on in their realm, is like, it's a real thing. You really can heal from things.
Yeah.
And how great it feels that you're like, I busted my butt and worked my tail off to like change the path that was happening to me that I couldn't control before. I figured out how to control and to change that. So empowering, and so feels so good to.
It really is. Well, and the time's going to pass. Like, that's what my husband and I always talk about, that if you don't go for things, the time's going to pass. Whether my husband actually just finished his master's degree, and that was such a huge thing for him to do. And that was one of the things we talked about, like, you know, in a couple of years will have gone by anyways. So you might as well go for things. And it can be daunting, scary. It can be hard, but man, it's so worth it in the end. Like, just going for stuff, like going for it, because I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to be like a Tony Robbins person at the airport, you know, like the conference center at the airport hotel, like giving my motivational speeches, you know, buy my tickets for $39.95 and you too can. But it's true. I mean, I think a lot of people tend to look at someone who is doing really well, and I'm certainly guilty of this, and they see the finished product. They don't see all the years of work that went behind that. All of the, you know, the heartaches, the heartbreaks, the suffering, the setbacks, the
We don't show those parts, right?
exactly.
We don't
I mean,
encourage
heaven forbid you should show anyone how weak you are.
Right.
You know.
But you go through, so I remember even just, it was from a really cheesy movie that I'm sure I could remember, or someone will remember, but like, you take the pictures of the good moments. You never take the pictures of anything that isn't a good moment. No one takes a picture that, I mean, some people are now, I am fine, you know, like Papaya, she does a great
There
job.
was somebody.
But yeah, but that's, you know, like we are always kind of like, that's my struggle that I will go through and the finished product, but it does give a false, obviously it's always a false sense of reality.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Because I think all the time, like, about people, you know, I'm really lucky in that I have good insurance. I was able to, the drugs that I get that suppress my immune system are like $7,000 a pop. And I only have to pay like $25, you know, my okay. And so I'm super lucky. And I think of all the people out there who don't have that, who are sick and who have so many barriers in their way, and they don't have the insurance. They don't have the ability to get their health. What kind of amazing things are we missing because people cannot realize their full potential? Like truly, like this drug that I'm on has completely changed my life. It's turned it around. And if I didn't have access to that, like none of the things I've done the last year would have happened at all. And so there's so much, I think, unrealized potential out there that people are not able to do because there's so many barriers in their way. And health is a big one. Health is a huge barrier. So, yeah.
And we see so many people too. I mean, not alone just how, as a society, we've just been getting sicker and sicker and sicker over the decades. But then 2020 happens. And since it just took a blow to everyone's emotional and mental state, there goes your health with it, you know? I mean, like, if we were already unhealthy, like just something like that's enough to just take everyone's health down physically. And to just be like, I'll take some ice cream right now and keep sitting on my couch because I just can't handle life right now, which all of those things, you know, just, so it's going to be a hard year coming out of just health-wise.
I think so too. And hopefully we've all learned a lot more about ourselves because, you know, when you're stuck alone with your thoughts, you're forced to get to know yourself for better or for worse. So hopefully I hope a lot of people come out of this, like knowing themselves a little bit better and feeling that kind of courage to step forward and say, this is what I need, getting mental health treatment, you know, doing what they can to try and get the kind of health care that they need, mental or physical. When you realize how fragile our lives are. And I think that's the worst about this pandemic is that we convince ourselves that we're in control and, you know, we're kind of moving along and things like this show us just how out of control the world is, just chaos basically. So, hopefully that people will come out of that feeling that fragility and getting more courage to kind of get the help they need. So,
I mean, I just had a conversation with a doctor today, just before this, was like talking about like, you know, options for that, just being like, I've made it thus far in 2020, body's doing good. But it's also 2020. Anything can happen. Talking about options. Like being open at and thinking about what your body's going through. And it's nice been seeing people. I'm hoping there's more people. I mean, obviously I wasn't in 2019 going through I wasn't really self-learning or self-awareness. I wasn't really, you know, looking into myself as I was last year. It was just like health oriented, but not like really figuring out what I believe in and how to take care of people as a whole.
Right.
And, but also how that defines you also and what's really, really important to you. Draw some lines there. So I'm hoping more people are doing that this year. You're seeing some people who are not doing you use the word all the time. Phrase of just inner work. Yeah. Right? It's like, are there more people doing inner work? And you can see some people who are not doing any inner work this year, but hopefully there are more people that were doing it than last year. Like, I know I wasn't doing it last year, so if I'm doing it this year, maybe that's already some more people who are doing it. So there are more people doing it.
No, totally.
Yeah. But we don't want to run out of time here real quick.
We don't want to be, we don't want to run out of time. We don't want to lose the ability to save this for people who couldn't join us live. And also we wanted to be able to tell you about the giveaway tonight too.
Yes. So it's on the website. If you go to thewoolenhoney.com under events, you'll see Making Comfort and Joy December 10th. And there's a giveaway basket for everybody, all of you fans. So,
sock knitters.
Yes. So lots of fun sock yarn. So just enter in that giveaway. It just has your information to put in, your name, address, and your email. And then we'll do a drawing next week for someone lucky there. So,
well, and I will add my whole sock pattern library to that to get someone started knitting socks. So whoever wins, you can get my, whether you want them or not, you're getting them.
Cool. You are amazing, Summer.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome.
That is such a sweet,
add that
sweet gift. So thank you.
Cool.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Awesome.
It's been so much fun talking to you, Summer.
I was so nervous and so scared, but I think I did okay. I
did
didn't get us banned from Instagram by accidentally saying something horrible, so I think we're good.
I love reading your posts. I love your humor. I think you're just really entertaining.
Oh, thanks.
Colors and everything. It's a very uplifting channel to be tapped into this year.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. That makes me happy.
And when it's safe again, we would love it if you could come and visit with us here.
Definitely. I cannot wait to have adventures again. I am so excited to get back in the Subi and head out for more road trip adventures. That's my favorite thing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Come see
Awesome.
the lakes. All right.
Well, thanks so much, Summer.
friends.
We'll talk.
Thank you for having me.
Really great to see everybody tonight. Thanks so much for being here.
Yes.
We're so
Thanks,
great.
guys. Have a great week.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You too. Bye.
Bye.